Yes, Anna and everybody, good morning and welcome to this exciting third day. I must say that it's one of the most riveting conferences I've ever been part of and I've ever attended. And I feel that the care and appropriateness with which the papers have also been put into these individual sessions is truly satisfying. And so I cannot wait to hear the papers in my session 8. And since we will have questions at the end, we will come to our last presentation in the session, and that is a presentation by Hannah Lang of Aarhus University. Hello, Hannah. I'm so happy to see you. I believe you're at the Kierkegaard Archives right now. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Lovely. So we will hear a talk on Søren Kierkegaard and Hannah Arendt on birth as a radical new beginning. So excited to hear it, Hannah. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And I'll start by sharing my screen. This here. Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much. I've really been looking forward to taking part in this symposium, and it's just been really inspiring to hear all your talks. And just to tell you a bit more about my work, then I am currently doing a PhD project about birth as a topic of existential philosophy. And here I'm focusing especially on the Danish thinker, existential thinker Søren Kierkegaard, and also on Hannah Arendt and her concept of natality. So my project is very inspired by her concept of natality. And so in general, I'm very interested in also revisiting a more traditional thinker that is Kierkegaard in light of this new topic. Of course, birth is not new, but it is quite new in philosophy, or this growing research interest in natality and birth. And I also include or draw on contemporary literature on the experiences of birth, pregnancy, and becoming a parent or a mother in my research. And that is mostly Danish contemporary literature, which has gotten really big during the last couple of years, or the last 10 years or so. And then I also work together with some Danish researchers in midwifery studies. So even though I'm mostly in philosophy, I have a little bit of interdisciplinary in my research. But today I want to present some thoughts from my project. And before I turn my attention to Kierkegaard and talk about the moment of birth, I want to start out a quite different place than Kierkegaard. And that is, that is in this description here of the moment of birth. And the quote here, it's from the Danish author Cecilie Lind's long poem it's called Mit barn in Danish. It's not translated to English yet, so I did this translation. But in English, the title is My Child, and it's from 2019. And the poem, it centers around the experience of giving birth and becoming a mother. I'll just show you the book. And this passage here that I quoted, it takes us to the very moment of birth. And I'm just going to read it out loud for you. I was an open mouth for the miracle of life, my labia a couple of wrecked tongues. Then the child stood out and stood out as an utterance. That utterance I shall witness being human. So here in this description, the woman in labor is described as an open mouth for the miracle of life. And the open mouth, it is in a quite literal and also physically or bodily sense, the cervix being fully dilated for the baby to pass through. So in Danish, cervix is called livmodermund, which means like mouth of the uterus, if I was to translate it directly. So if you translate that directly, then it is quite literally an open mouth. And the labia as wrecked tongues is then to be read as the physical birth injuries. So just do something here, yeah. So yeah, but then also if you read it a bit more like an imagery or figuratively speaking, then the description of the open mouth and the wrecked tongues, it also paints a picture of how the woman in labor is being unable to talk. So the description in that way, it marks a quite radical shift during birth, from the quite hectic atmosphere up until the time of birth, where there's contractions and gaspings, maybe even screaming and pushing, and then to complete silence here, to the seconds of silence that can feel like an eternity while you're waiting for the sound of life until the newborn suddenly cries or suddenly stands out as a new beginning in the world. So this description of the open mouth, it also paints a picture of how the woman giving birth is left completely stunned as a new human being enters the world. So it's the almost incomprehensible experience that new life can begin, that it's even possible. And in that way, it also expresses a paradox. So the paradoxical experience of how birth is both something like long awaited through 9 months of labor, no, 9 months of pregnancy, thank God, and often also many hours of labor, and still somehow unexpected. So even though there's all this waiting, then birth or the moment that you see your child for the first time is still somehow unexpected or miraculous or surprising. As if the child didn't just come from the womb, but also kind of out of nothing, or if it came exactly from the darkness of the womb. So in many ways, birth is completely predictable and even banal, you could say. It's the predictable outcome of a pregnancy, just like every single one of us is born. And we know everything about the development from a fetus, of a fetus, from a blastocyst and till to a full-term infant. And yet it is still something that can leave us speechless. So somehow knowing all of this, it does not explain away or diminish the radical new beginning that birth is. So the almost miraculous new beginning birth marks. And taking this experience as my point of departure, I want to talk a bit about how Kierkegaard can help us understand birth as a radical new beginning. And his understanding of the beginning as something radical or something ungrounded, you could also say, is perhaps most clearly articulated in the concept of anxiety from 1844, and it's written under the pseudonym Vigilius Hafniensis. Yeah, and here in this work we hear about the very central concept called the leap. In Danish it's called springet. And yeah, and it's also, this reading of Kierkegaard is also very inspired by Arendt's concept of natality. I won't go too much into it because of the time limit, but we already heard about how how the beginning, and at the beginning as something like a novelty, or also as she also writes in the human condition, that every beginning is something startling, unexpected. Or this transition from nothing to something, as she also talks about in The Life of the Mind. Yeah. So the concept of anxiety, it's a work that very much concerns how we are both a part of history or a part of the human race, but we are also, each one of us, a new beginning or an individual beginning anew. So in that way, it concerns our freedom very much, but it also concerns how life is not just a continuity, or we're not just a continuity, but life also moves in leaps where it begins anew. And this has everything to do with freedom, as I mentioned, that we're not just determined by whatever comes before or history. And this is something that anxiety shows us for Kierkegaard. And that's very much what we hear about in the concept of anxiety. And the reason why I find Kierkegaard so interesting in relation to this topic is because, as someone also mentioned yesterday, and now of course, unfortunately, I don't remember who exactly, but someone mentioned how being a woman is also experiencing how you change throughout life, the many different transitions or phases in life. And here I think Kierkegaard's interesting to draw on, because he talks so much in relation to this about how life is not just something linearly or a continuity, but it also moves in leaps where everything is new suddenly. And one of the most famous descriptions of the leap is a description of the experience of standing at the edge of an abyss, looking down into the depth, and suddenly feeling dizzy, where everything suddenly changes in an instant. We hear about it's a quite famous description. Maybe you already know it. And then in the end of this whole long passage about the leap, or about the abyss, sorry, we hear Kierkegaard then writes, "Between these two moments lies the leap, which no science has explained and which no science can explain." So this whole situation of us standing at the edge of an abyss, looking down and becoming dizzy, where everything suddenly changes, is a description of the leap. And it is very much a description of how we see our own freedom, that we can, like, that we are just not determined, or life is not just a continuity, but we can begin anew also, and that's also the leap, or a new beginning, like I just mentioned, that Arendt talks about this from nothing to something. And I also think that this description of the abyss is also about seeing how life is out of our control. It's also about seeing, like, as I mentioned, it's both seeing freedom, that somehow life is not determined, or that there's an abyss or the possibilities, but it's also seeing that life is fundamentally out of our control and something that also happens. Just like we hear about how, in this description, how everything suddenly changes from one moment to the next. So it's both our ability to do something, but it's also life that happens to us sometimes. And what I found to be the most interesting part of the leap is the sudden transition it marks. So the radical before and after. And as Kierkegaard says, when he talks about the leap, he says it cannot be explained logically because there's no smooth or direct transition between those two states, between the before and after. So the beginning as a leap does not happen in continuity with the past, but it marks a break with what we already know. And that is exactly why it is a leap and something qualitatively new, he also describes it as. So therefore, the beginning is something sudden and mysterious, and it changes everything from one moment to the next. And in that way, the leap gives us a Kierkegaardian concept of an ungrounded beginning, a beginning that is not just a continuity, as I said, but coming from nothing or the abyss. And just like I described birth as something that's long awaited and still somehow unexpected. So where the newborn suddenly emerges almost out of nothing or from the darkness of the womb, changing everything in an instant, as if there was a gap or a void or an abyss in between life as you know it and the new life beginning with birth. So to make this a bit more concrete, I would like to include another literary passage from the Danish author Josefine Klougard's novel. It's called Alt dette kunne du få. It's not translated to English, unfortunately, but it's from 2021. And in this novel, the protagonist, Barbara, she talks about the experience of, as a child, sensing that your parents have a longing or some dreams or desires that were never fulfilled. And this experience she describes as an experience of darkness. And that's where she writes the following that I quoted here. And I'm just gonna read it out loud. So she writes, "It's not so much as a darkness that could knock one out of the world in the future, but as a darkness before. A feeling of being thrown back into the darkness that precedes one's own existence. The fact that if the desire had been followed, then one would have never been." And then she ends it with the following, which is my favorite part, where she writes, "The cradle swings over an abyss. On both sides there is, as far as we know, infinite darkness." And just to explain by what I understand by this, so as a child, one's parents, they secure or make your entire world, and it's almost something God-given. So the experience that everything could have been different, it is to experience or to sense a darkness that threatens one's own existence. So using Kierkegaard's words, it is a leap that makes the ground beneath our feet tremble. And as the quote says, it's not so much a darkness that can knock one out of the world in the future, meaning it's not death we're talking about here, but it's a darkness from the past. It's the feeling of being thrown back into the darkness that precedes our own existence, as it says. And in that experience, one takes a step back into the the darkness that precedes our birth or the birth of one's child, which shows us how the two conditions of existence, birth and death, are closer to each other than we usually think. Because as she writes here, on both sides of the cradle, there is infinite darkness. So, following this line of thinking, I think that being pregnant can then be described as a threshold experience. So, an experience of standing at the edge of a new beginning, or at the edge of an abyss, that is the new beginning, where birth is the point in the future where the horizon darkens, like the abyss, where we can't see any further than this, or we can't get any further than this. So when you're pregnant, you kind of live in the shadow of this new beginning, and no matter how much you prepare yourself, like buy tiny body stockings or diapers, or redecorate your entire home like we did when we were to have our son, or even do breathing exercises every single night, you still cannot escape the abyss that is a part of the beginning. So there is, to say with Kierkegaard, no bridge, but a yawningly deep abyss between the before and after of the beginning, of a radical new beginning. And I would even say that the more you prepare yourself, then the clearer it kind of becomes that there is something you can't prepare for, or something that you cannot foresee or control. So in this way, the prospect of childbirth is an experience of stepping closer to the abyss day by day or week by week. And this abysmal experience, if you can call it that, in many ways reaches its climax during birth itself, where one physically almost and kind of existentially also come to an end in order for new life to begin. And so to some concluding remarks on all of these thoughts I just presented, that so standing at the edge of an abyss, for Kierkegaard, and also in this context that I'm reading him in here, is both an experience of loss somehow, that is a kind of losing the continuity of or life as you know it. So kind of life as you know it dissolves, but it's also an experience of turning towards life itself as something that suddenly happens or begin. Um, yeah. So standing at the abyss is, as I mentioned, facing your possibilities and your freedom, but it's just as much staring into the darkness or the uncontrollable or unknown future and seeing how life is also fundamentally out of our hands. Just like the beginning or leap for Kierkegaard is not something we can explain logically, but which suddenly happens also, changing everything from one moment to the next. And in that way, the beginning for Kierkegaard is something active at doing or at choosing, but it also has an interesting element of something more passive, something we also receive. So the point with all of this is not to say that birth is something dark or anxious instead of joyful, but to show how the abyss is a part of the beginning, how it is in the transitions of life, at the edge of a new beginning, that we lose the ground beneath our feet and where we encounter life as something out of our control. And now I should probably end my presentation. But just to return shortly to the quote I started with, I think that this open mouth here also reflects some of the more passive element. Of course, she's the woman giving birth, which is very active, but she's also at the same time receiving a new life as something more than she is, or that she already, yeah, as something different from what she already knows, as something that happens or something she welcomes. That was what I had in this presentation.
Thank you. That was lovely. I have to say that I am happy to be a philosopher today with all the lovely and amazing, interesting and inspiring thoughts to present it to us.